It's about 8:30 in the morning on Thursday, April 3rd, 2025, and I come out here and I was checking the weather forecast. It tells me when it's going to rain, and I said, okay, I'll come out here and do some work. And then even the weather forecast for the next hour was wrong, so I ended up getting trapped in my side-by-side as it poured down rain. I'm not complaining about the rain. I'm just complaining that the forecast, it couldn't tell me to the minute when the rain was going to fall. So, you know, first world problems, right? But anyway, I'm out here with the sheep. I just rolled out a bale of hay for the sheep to munch on. They like to balance their diet with some hay, but also the cattle, they're going to be moving here Friday evening. And so I give them something to munch on when they come over here. This spot in the pasture too, I wanted to kind of highlight. I was thinking about where to roll out that bale of hay, and I didn't want to roll it out on grass. So I chose this part of the pasture. As you could probably tell, I don't know if you can see it, it's very green, but probably 80% of the green comes from things that aren't grass, right? So there is some grass in here, but a lot of it isn't grass. And these old dead stalks, this is old goat weed, you know. The goat weed is perennial. It's supposed to keep coming back, but I think it just gets too cold in the winter for goat weed, and it dies off. It'll probably be back in June. The thing about goat weed, I always talk about this whenever the goat weed comes back, is I'm glad to have it. 2 years ago, we had a big drought, and I noticed that under the goat weed, the grass was growing, but where the goat weed wasn't, the grass wasn't growing. And so for some reason, the goat weed was able to keep moisture in the soil and keep the grass growing. And when you come out to my pasture in the middle of July and August, it looks like a bunch of goat weed. And the cows are putting their heads in the goat weed to find that grass, which I don't think would have existed without the goat weed. But if I was able to wave a magic wand and magically get rid of all the goat weed, you would have seen my pasture was full of grass, green grass, while other pastures were brown and dead from the drought. So, you know, I have things to complain about in life, but goat weed isn't one of them. You know, I mean, it sure would be nice if I could just grow grass without goat weed or anything else, and you know, the exact combination of forage that the animals want, but you know, that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm glad to have the goat weed. It's a welcome invader. And that said, the parts where the goat weed really thrived, when I come back the next year, there's hardly any goat weed to be found. So, and the principle there is that nature has a way of doing things. And, you know, we look at certain things as, you know, invasive or as unwanted. I can't turn around because the wind's in my back. Hello, doggies that are wet. We got a bunch of rain, like 0.6 inches and probably another 1/4 inch, or maybe 1/8 of an inch. I don't know. But anyway, so we look at things and we go to the pasture and we see a spot in the pasture and we're like, what in the heck? I don't want that growing there, you know? And so we're tempted to go in there and cut it down, or to put some chemicals down, maybe even use fire, you know, to get rid of it. And we're thinking like, oh, we got to create a condition where the grass can actually grow. But what happens in nature is, if you watch and you come back to that part next year, it's not true for everything. There's some things that do get a hold and they won't let go, you know, so you need something to go in there and disturb it. But you know, with the sheep and the cows going through my pasture doing their thing, I've noticed that the the parts that have weeds one year, the next year you come back, it's grass or a different kind of weed. You know, nature kind of pushes herself out to make room for something else. You know, just because you're winning one day doesn't mean you'll be winning the next day. You know, and kind of the natural process is bare soil turns to weeds. There's certain weeds that love bare soil, and then the grass tends to take over those areas, and you won't see those weeds anywhere. They used to dominate an area, so, and then over time the trees will start to take over the grass. You'll see like different things grow in and grow up, and then the trees tend to kill off the grass because of the shade and the leaf cover, you know, and the kind of cycle starts all over again when the tree falls down, you know, and then there's bare ground, and poor soil, and next thing you know, the weeds are growing there, and then the grass is coming back. So I do like the animals, though, because they do something. I'm going to turn around into the wind. Apologies. I figure you guys would rather look at sheep than dogs. Apologies for the wind noise. I got to find that magic technology Greg Judy found. Maybe it's just a piece of foam, but I'm not that smart. Actually, I've been looking for pieces of foam. I've been keeping my eyes out for it. I can't find any pieces of foam that would be appropriate. Okay, so back to the beginning here. I like the animals, right? The animals are an important component of nature, and I don't think the Great Plains could have existed without the herds of bison and the buffalo and whatever else doing their thing. So the animals do something very important, and that is that when the plants grow up, and so all of those nutrients that were in the soil are now in the air and inaccessible to other plants down at the base. The animals will come down and they'll trample that, and they'll eat it, poop and pee it, and put it back into the soil, right? And so they start that process over again. And, we talk about desertification, parts of the world turning to desert. And if you go back to the history books and you find out that those areas used to be lush, verdant, beautiful areas. In Arizona, they find fossilized jungle trees everywhere in Arizona, And of course, the changing climate, because climate changes, that's what it does. The earth isn't static. You can probably blame that for at least some of the reasons for the desertification, if not all of the reasons. But I think another component, I don't know how major a component this is, but I think human activity with the animals, right? If we bring the animals in and appropriately graze, we can turn desert back to pasture. And there's a guy in Mexico, and I'm sorry that I don't have my sources all lined up. I'll just tell you what he said. You can think about whether or not it might be true or not, but he owned a bunch of acreage in northern Mexico, which is a desert. And he said that because he started doing rotational grazing, not only did the grass come back, but he swears that he gets more rainfall than his neighbors. And I thought, well, maybe that's just what he thinks because, all the grass is growing. I guess they're camera shy. But my thought is that maybe there's something happening at the soil with all that vegetation that's causing rain to fall there, right? Maybe there's a chemical that the grass releases that when it floats up in the atmosphere, it makes it slightly more likely to rain over that part of the ground. Maybe plants are magical humidifiers that are sucking moisture out of the soil, putting it into the air, and the rain that's falling is in fact the moisture that the grass sucked out. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I don't think we could ever possibly understand fully, about nature. But that's what he said, right? So he said that he gets more rainfall than his neighbors. So that's what I think about is the animals are a critical component. If I get the balance right, not too many animals, not too few, that's going to create the optimal conditions to grow grass and create soil and just have a nice system that should be able to support life. So, yeah. So I'm not too concerned about the fact that part of this is the part over here. You can see it's a lot more grass than weeds. I hesitate to call them weeds. Forage, non-grass. Look at this clover. Oh my goodness. You people in suburbia that have clover in your lawn, you're like, we need to get rid of that clover. No, don't get rid of that clover. That clover is making your grass green and helping the grass to grow. It forms a symbiotic relationship. Because the clover is a legume, it's a nitrogen fixing plant. So it grabs nitrogen from the air. And as you know, 82% or something like that of the atmosphere is nitrogen. Right? It's all there. It's ready to be grabbed and used. And the clover brings that into the soil so the grass can use it. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, you have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.